Wow, for some reason this week I was kinda, sucking ass when it is about to record the trade recaps, to stay like, straight to the point. And also being able to form a sentence, because I don't know, I was kinda, I'm losing it. Feels like I lost a bit of my cognitive abilities. And I think this is a perfect call, like the perfect sign that I genuinely have to aggressively start to work out again. Yeah, anyways. Now, enough of my, spoken out loud thoughts. Let's get actually to the charts. And first of all, today, oh boy, I think this was genuinely the craziest ping pong I've ever experienced during my whole trading, let's call it career. Because I was never scalping this hard and even, let's say, being lucky. Now, let's start with the first pair I traded today, which was gold. Now, the thing is, I was actually going here long because I wanted to be bullish in order to be bearish. Means I wanted to see a sweep with one of the prominent levels, so I can go short. Which would be in this case the Asia highs. You could see here I was putting my drawing, but halfway it didn't even sweep the London highs, it just was going sideways and then it decided where to go. Now, as I mentioned, the first time, I don't think that I mentioned it anyways, the first time I was entering here of the sweep, but to be honest, this is not really, a clean confirmation, so I don't really count it as such. And yeah, that's the reason why I was closing it pretty early, like above break even. And then I saw it was going down, it swept the swing low, also on the 50 minutes, even on the 1 hour, and I thought, okay, that's actually a good level to go long. Again, bullish in order to be bearish. But actually, as you can see, it didn't do that much. It was going up, but then boom, having a bit of a weird price action. Also, I was entering here, but this is a confirmation, the sweep, and also the 1 minute break of structure, and I think I never used something like that on the 1 minute. But we see it was at least going on the 1 minute up. But anyways, again, I was closing it earlier. I actually took like a little loss on that, and yeah, because it just was like moving in a way I couldn't really predict. Then it was, bouncing around, and then I was going up again. I was going on the 50 minutes. I was actually using the FIB, you know, the OTZ or whatever this stupid thing is called, as a confirmation, because on the 50 minutes we had right here a fair value gap, right? Let's fair value gap right there, and on the 5 minutes here a breaker block. Now the thing is, the first time I got disrespected, I thought like, okay, perhaps I'm just keep getting disrespected. It's a bit too iffy to kind of get my trajectory. And during this time, I kept scalping, like literally scalping, like few pips. And at the beginning was going a bit well. And don't get me wrong, it's a terrible idea. Never do that. But anyways, at the beginning was, working a bit well. And then, yeah, I was just fumbling big time. Not fumbling, but I was like messing around too much, because then I was opening my position here because I was like, okay, seems like it's now it gets rejected, it won't go further to the upside, also due to this order block, which is way more valid than the breaker block on the 5 minutes, to be honest. And yeah, I was opening my position right there. And the thing is, because I was a bit in the negatives because I was scalping like an idiot, which I am not, I closed it already here. And yeah, because of the tiny profits, to kind of keep my funds safe, to not be too much of a drawdown. And I did the same thing with the NASDAQ. And then while I was on both sides scalping, which is very, very, unsustainable, I was trying to take another mini scalp right there, and it then pushed to the upside, and I lost a bigger chunk. So I was overall, 200 in the negatives. Then I went back to the Nasdaq, which I, by the way, did the same thing. I also had here. I literally had here. I think you can see it. I literally had here my entry. Now I have to find the execution marks. You can see. Oh yeah, this was the first time I entered. Literally here, a very valid, and in my opinion, even a good entry, a perfect entry. But again, I closed it here. So you can see here how much I was like being like acting like a dickhead. Not saying that I am one, but I was genuinely behaving like a beginner, and I can tell you later why. But my setup seemed to be working out. Also, we have to mention we had today news, unemployment claims, but the numbers did not do that much onto the market. There wasn't much liquidity injected by this news. So I was like, okay, I can kind of ignore this for now and more focus more also as a help on the 10 a.m. session manipulation. Now, the reason why I took you to short was finally we had a setup because we had here a sweep on the 50 minutes and also later how we can see on the 1 hour. And yeah, well, the thing is, if I would have been trading how I typically trade, then I perhaps even would, put it down there. Okay, more likely down here, but also being aware of the 10 a.m. manipulation, putting it down there and having here my TP1, and yeah, having it so far comfortably enough for myself. And we can see, ooh man, it played out very perfectly, aggressively. Okay, now to be honest, this something like that, dude, I wasn't expecting this that it's going to push so aggressively to the downside. So to be honest, this would have been actually more realistically, but I also perhaps would have put in my stop loss. Sorry, I mean my top take profit right there. Now, regarding the stop loss, I was putting it a bit above the Asia highs because perhaps it wants to to take the Asia highs out, but it failed to do so. So yeah, then later on, where I took this bigger chunk, I took the risk. I was putting my short here and was like, okay, I'm very sure, I'm pretty safe on that. It's going to take out also the London lows. And as you can see, it took out the London lows, and this, helped me to do some damage control to having only a loss of $30. Like overall in total, being literally break even, which is pretty, funny enough to me. But now I can tell you why I was today geeking so much. And it is because for some reason I had too much fear, or like, the fear to lose money, to risk actually money because it's my first genuine evil account. Well, technically it is the top step, but I blew this because I wasn't like, caring about it anymore after I read all the bad reviews and all the bad news about it. And yeah, because this is like, let's say, a more just a better eval account, like not comment but eval, with the context and the rules, etc., etc. I just was so over careful, so overprotective of that. I mean, we also can see by the gains from the past 4 days. It was literally like ping pong, but very small amounts. Now, perhaps the range how from the loss and the recovery was a bit larger, but overall it was always ending like -$20, plus 30, -$70, plus 80, and stuff like that. So with that, I would say it made it for me easier to kind of, get rid of the fear. Perhaps there's still some of it left because, I don't know, maybe it's also a bit scary because I never genuinely traded like futures, prop eval accounts or combines. And yeah, and also necessary to mention, the top step, I mainly use it to learn how to trade the NASDAQ, like to learn new things. Of course, I was also learning, besides that, things about it. But just, things which I found out, like, the classic 10 a.m. manipulation or something, which is very likely to happen, etc., etc. Or also how, price behaves, the NASDAQ, because the price action is pretty different to the other pairs I typically trade. Also, at least when I compare it to the past, when I from all the losing and winning trades I had. And one last thing I want to say, to be honest, I feel like that this trade, even if I would have stuck with that, I think it was a bit of a bit lucky because we don't have a strong confirmation here at this point. I mean, we have here this 50-minute order block, which is very clean and nice. Like that's actually a very clean order block. But still, I would like to see a bit more, like perhaps a sweep on the 5 minutes or something like that. But Anyway, so overall for today, for me, it was like genuinely like a valuable lesson, like more in terms of training my nervous system, I would say, because generally I think everybody knows at this point you're training against your nervous system. That's like the first thing. Forget all the hedge funds and the banks and whatever. At the first point, you're training against the nervous system. That's the thing, because the way how I trade today, it literally reminded me from my from my early days. Only with the difference that it was I felt like the first time or like new to that because it's something which I wasn't trading before. Also, with the circumstances in terms of the prop firms, etc., etc. So yeah, I think I kind of could train my brain again, hopefully, and then being more prepared for the next day. Now, to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to trade the next day. I will for sure monitor the charts tomorrow, but you know, Friday is typically not so much going on. If there's like generally a very good setup, I will take it, but if not, then I'd rather take my hands off that. Like as an example, if it looks like that, then I rather not take it. Because even so, for me enough, it's like a well done enough setup. Overall, like on Fridays, it's a bit tough to say. It's a bit tough to say. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to mention the resistance level we had here, which also gave me, the confirmation. Waiting for shorts, because at this point it's clearly bullish. So yeah, with that being said, cheers.